Hey, what's up, Crypto Army? I'm Travis, your crypto newbie, bringing you my experiences. You have to learn things the hard way. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, and none of my content should be used as financial advice. So just a quick update on Reflex Finance. Now, they did an AMA this weekend, so it's going to be a lot of information from that, and hopefully I'll be able to explain staking in a way that will make a lot more sense to you as far as the numbers go. So we're going to take a look at an example of that I put together that might help illustrate the different periods and the benefits of each one. So we're going to talk about that. And then just a quick update on some recent information from Reflex as well. So let's jump right in. Now, as you can see here, we've got a chart of a whole bunch of numbers and an equation. I like to use equations. Now, full disclosure, I have not done this math in a couple years. I haven't had a need to. And even when I was doing this math as part of my MBA program, we most of the time just use one of these, a nice business analyst calculator. And it's got all the buttons that you just plug in the numbers and it just kind of outputs a number for you. So I haven't had to really do this kind of math in a while. So if you see something that I did wrong, let me know. If I use the equation wrong, let me know. If I use the wrong equation, let me know. But I'm pretty sure this is correct because I also went to a couple websites just to check my outcome to make sure that it was right. And when I looked at this website here in particular, the numbers were exactly the same. So I'm fairly certain that the outcomes on my Excel were correct. And I'll put this link in the description if you want to just use one of these websites and you don't want to go looking for it. But there are others out there that you might like better. So let's take a look at this. So here's the equation. And here are some notes on what this stuff means. Present value is your investment. That's what that means. Future value is pretty obvious what that one means. The interest rate is the APR, effectively, is what we're talking about here, is the APR rate. Now, I also explain kind of what you have to do to that in order to make it work. So, for example, an APR of 35% would need to be divided by 2 to get the semi-annual interest rate. And I took that into consideration in this Excel when I put this together. The period is in terms of compounding events. So all of this is over the course of 1 year. So for example, if you're looking at 2 years compounded monthly, the period would be 24. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. That would be essentially what this equation does and how it does it. Now the APRs were announced, and again, these are fixed, and there's no guarantee how long these are going to last, but your 7-day period has an APR of 7%. Your 30-day period has an APR of 14%. Your 90-day period has an APR of 21%. And your 180-day has a 35% APR. Now that's phenomenal. That is an awesome APR. And again, it's fixed. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go down once you lock it in. Now here's a consideration. 180 days from now, it might be a very different situation. So you might not see 35% on that second locking period. Same as you might not see 21%. So there's a little bit of assumption built into all of this that these APRs are going to be static for the entire year. And I highly doubt that's how it's going to work. That would be nice, but it's not likely to happen. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these numbers, is that at the end of the year, if you don't have the numbers, it's because probably that second period, the fourth period, the 50th period, the interest rate was different than what it started at, because most of the time the APR goes down. And that's across every staking option that's out there. That's normally how it works. But those are the initial APR periods. Now, all these numbers are going to be based off of 10 billion tokens. I thought that was a pretty good entry point. That's approximately $300. So if you've got less, then the numbers are going to be a little bit less. If you've got more that you plan on staking, then you're going to get a little bit more. But I thought 10 billion was a pretty good starting point for most people. I didn't want to go too much lower, and I didn't want to go too much higher because I don't think everybody's got 1 trillion tokens laying around. Same thing as I don't think everybody's got 100 billion tokens. So I think 10 billions is a pretty good point to compare. You'll see that the amount is the same, and this is based off of this value. Again, those are some other factors that are going to change. The price is probably going to go up over the course of a year. So the value of the tokens at the end of the year is probably going to be a little bit higher. It might be higher at the end of the period as well. So those are things to consider when you're looking at all these different numbers. Now let's take a look at the 7-day, for example, here, right? So it's a 7-day period. There's 52 weeks in a year. Now, the future quantity at the end of 1 year is estimated to be 10,724,000,000 for an increase of 724 million tokens. Now, that's a lot of tokens. But when you compare the 7-day to the 180-day period, you can see there's a pretty big difference when you get to the end of the year when you do 180 days in each period. 3 billion versus 724 million. So you can see why a lot of people are really excited about 35% for 180 days. And even if you factor in that the second period is going to be possibly a lower APR, it's basically half of that is what you're going to get. So your period 1 quantity at 1.9 billion tokens is pretty good, right? That's not bad for 6 months, but let's keep going. So we've got that quantity for the year. Now your period quantity increase. Now all I did was divide it by the number of periods. So this is an approximate. You're probably going to get a little bit less because it's compounding. So each time you're getting tokens, it's actually going up a little bit. So the number on your first period is going to be a little bit less than on your last period. But again, the APR is going to shift too. So there's a lot of flexibility in these numbers. And the APR in theory could go up, but it's more likely to go down. Now, this is the value of those tokens at today's price. So you can see what I was talking about when I asked the question on the AMA if you were listening in. Depending on the gas fee, this might not make a lot of sense to you. Now, if you own a lot of tokens, it might make sense to you to do this. Plus, the price might go up, so your value might also increase with the price of the tokens. For me, though, I won't be doing the 7-day. I just don't see the same value that you get with the 35% 180-day lock. So I'll be doing the 180-day lock, and then I'll reevaluate in 6 months. Now, to talk a little bit about the actual staking process. So when you stake, you're going to pay a gas fee. I think that's intuitive. Everything you do with your tokens results in some sort of a gas fee. So expect there's going to be a gas fee. Staking normally has a little bit higher cost for that gas fee. It just depends on how complicated the transactions are on how much that gas fee is. The more complicated they are, the more gas you pay. And we won't really know what that's going to look like until we get there. And then there's also the actual cost of the gas does fluctuate a little bit, so that's something to consider as well. If it's a high gas period, you might want to wait a little bit. You're going to pay a little bit of gas to stake. You're also going to pay a little bit of gas to unstake, and you do need to do something at the end of the period because it doesn't just automatically roll over into the next period. So you need to restake your tokens. And again, I don't know exactly what the mechanism is going to look like and what that process is going to entail. You're going to have to set a reminder on your calendar in order to go back into the system and do an update at the end of the period, just to make sure you get the biggest bang for your buck. Now, that's also a benefit for the 6 month because you set one calendar invite instead of a whole bunch of calendar invites. Makes it a little bit easier to do. I guess you could set it up as a battle rhythm where you constantly go in there every single week and do an update. In my view, this one's a little bit easier. Now, the staking contract was audited, so you should rest assured that your tokens are safe when they do this process. Now, I don't exactly know how the mechanism works. Again, I'm not a contract person, but the tokens are actually going to stay in your wallet. You won't be able to sell them. You won't be able to transfer them if you stake it, but they're going to remain in your wallet, which is kind of nice. I've actually never seen anybody else do it that way. So that's kind of a nice approach. You still need to go to the system and actually interact with them to unstake and do all those things. You should feel fairly confident that your tokens are going to be safe. They're not going to be hacked like a lot of others that have been hacked recently. And if you want to look at that audit, it's on their main webpage. If you just click up here, and you can see the staking audit right here. And again, it was through InterFi that they had the audit done. Now, during the AMA, they also talked about they're getting listed on their first exchange. And it's a big one. It's going to be BitMart. And BitMart does support limited tokenomics the last time that a token was listed on them. It'll be interesting to see exactly how they're going to do it for Reflex Finance. BitMart continues to update the processes for tokenomics on their exchange. And every time they do an update, it gets a little bit better. So hopefully there'll be a little bit better tokenomics on BitMart at this point. But they're going to tell us more about that in a future AMA. But BitMart's a great starting point for this project to get listed. There's a lot of people that use BitMart. Heck, I even used it at one point when I first got into the crypto space. So there's a lot of people on it. Now, they also talked a lot about the Launchpad. It's going to be basically 2 different tiers. They didn't specify which tier was going to be what. We'll just call tier 1 their most confident rating, as in you should never have any problems with this project at this level, and we fully insure it. That's basically what I would call tier 1. And that'll involve the team actually having to do docs So that'll be a requirement. And then there's a whole bunch of other things, but then it's going to get their shield of approval from Reflex Finance that it's effectively not going to be a scam or a rug pull. And then they'll have the tier 2, which will be less burdensome for the project in order to get a tier 2 level, but it won't necessarily be insured the same way of the tier 1. Again, not a lot of details. They've still got a lot more details coming out in future AMAs, but it's a good start on exactly what this launchpad is going to look like. These days, I kind of feel like anybody that has anything to do with money, the wallet interactions, whether it's a multi-sig or not, I kind of feel like anybody that has any access into the wallets probably almost needs a background check because there's a lot of craziness going on in the crypto space. Now, one other thing that came up was wallet security, and they talked a little bit about this. I've got a video specifically on how to set up a mirror wallet or a monitoring wallet or a watch wallet, whatever you want to call it. I've got the video link for that right here. If you want to check that out, I highly encourage you to do that. I've talked about it on several videos at this point. It basically just allows you to view access on your daily driver phone. It requires 2 phones to do this process. I highly recommend you take a look at that video if you want to make sure that you keep your wallet secure. Again, there's a lot of craziness in the crypto space, so you really have to try to be aware of how they could get into your wallet, what are the issues you could run into to make sure that your money is safe. Now, they also talked about February 25th being in New York City. Apparently down in Times Square area, there's going to be some billboards for Reflex Finance that are up, and the team's going to be there. So if you want to hang out with them, go to the Discord to get more information, but that sounds pretty exciting. So if you live nearby New York City, that might be fun for you to go check it out. And then you can actually meet and interact with the team on your own. Now, this Thursday, there's going to be another AMA at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Twitter Spaces, where they're going to discuss BitMart, and they'll probably answer some other questions. But if you want to find out more information, that might be a good way to do it, is to attend that and get more information. I'll be live streaming this as well, so you can come check out my live stream and ask any questions you've got in there. And then there's another event on Wednesday, and that is going to be the DeFi Roundtable with MetaBUSD, BUSD Buffet, Mobile Trades, and Crypto Atlas. And Reflex Finance is going to be a part of that as well. So if you want to check that one out, I am not planning on live streaming this one, unless there's a whole bunch of people that want me to do it, then I will. But for my part, I just plan on monitoring it because I'm not exactly sure what they're going to cover at this event. But if you're interested in doing a live stream, let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can set one up. Now that's everything for today. Hope you found the content helpful. Let me know in the comments. How long are you planning on staking your Reflex Finance? Are you going to stake it all? Or are you going to do a portion? And maybe you're going to split it up between the 90 and the 180-day period. Because you can have multiple stakes. It doesn't have to be all of your tokens for 180 days if you don't want to. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. You got to do what works for you. Especially since it's going to have a 10% fee for taking it out early. Until next time, stay strong with those diamond hands.